going on, creeps? Back again for another Monday. And I guess this one's got a little silver lining to it. Welcome back for another adventure video. Doc Fugit here, creeps. Sadly, we are here to discuss the penultimate episode of Season 7. And as I said, not sad because it was disappointing, but because it's such a fucking... it was such a good episode, and it's hard to accept that there's only one more episode left in this fucking arc. But all good things must come to an end. Nothing can last forever. Alright, so in this episode, the forecast manufacturer, we get our first snowstorm in the Ventureverse, and it's a doozy. Being from the Northeast, it was, in my estimation, very realistic depiction of a true, shitty nor'easter. Even though, as the title hints, the storm was created by man rather than by the natural atmosphere. The episode opens with at least 3 feet of snow surrounding the Ventec building, and Rusty telling Billy that's the perfect temperature to test his thermoregulation suppository. White apparently is absent because he was stricken with mono. So Billy is left with the task of shoving this thing that looks like a gigantic Christmas tree light up his ass to become the rectal Neil Armstrong. There's some form of alarm that keeps on beeping, so that leaves Rusty and Hank to go into the safe room while Brock, Hatred, and Billy, mainly Billy, are left to sweep the building. While Hank's inside the panic room, he's going a bit insane. A little stir-crazy, as we call it during a snowstorm, because he can't get in touch with his beau, Serena. Something that we are finally fucking getting back to, and it gets very juicy. Meanwhile, Billy finds the source of the beeping. It's like an antique OSI telephone communique device. So it's the top brass. They're trying to get in touch with Rusty, and they're requesting his help to stop the weather machine, which is creating the blizzard. So Billy is the one that's all gung-ho about this. Everybody else is pretty blasé about the whole situation. And Rusty literally asks everyone except him to join him, and they all say no. Billy's just finally, he's had enough of this. He's Team Venture. So he demands that he go into X1 with Rusty and they go tackle the menacing weather machine. Meanwhile, Monarch and 21 are recruited by Dr. Girlfriend for another facet of the same mission. On board a wooden ship, they sail through the Hudson, I believe. Dr. Z finally explains that the Peril Partnership is Canada's answer to the Guild. They have worked in peace with them for 60 years apparently, but recently there's been a schism, and a rogue band of members have been committing acts of terror to become the most feared organization in the world. So there's a little bit of a puzzle piece connected there. And for some reason, the OSI is refusing to intervene. I wonder who could be at the bottom of all of this. I wonder if that's telling that the OSI won't intervene. Anyway, Dr. Z gets a message from the OSI that reads, "We will handle the symptom, and you handle the disease," explaining Rusty and Malcolm's tandem missions there. Rusty takes care of the immediate problem, while Monarch and 21 take care of the man behind the curtain, the creep, who's using stolen guild tech to do so, apparently. The only glimpse we are given so far is a chicken tender bust of his head, which they must eat with either ketchup or barbecue sauce, for there will be no record of this meeting. Back at the Ventec building, Hank is all done. He's leaving to brave the weather to find Serena, who he said he doesn't think has been ignoring him. He thinks she's been kidnapped or cloned or something like that, because he's left her 40 voicemails and 60 text messages. Yeah, that's gotta be the only answer, that she's... Poor Hank. So he goes out, and being Hank, he can't resist making a football out of snow and throwing it past himself. And unfortunately, upon diving for the quote-unquote ball, he smashes his head on a mailbox covered in snow, leaving a really, really, really bad gash and probably a really shitty concussion, because when he wakes up dazed and covered in snow himself, the infamous knife-wielding guy in a bear costume picks him up and carries him out in the storm towards something that he's not gonna like. In the sky, we get a really cool sequence where Billy and Rusty have found the weather machine. Billy is stripped down to his skivvies because the thermoregulator is working too well. So this allows him to hover down to the machine because he won't be freezing, with Jonas Jr.'s hover belt that's been used actually before already in this season. It's a pretty neat little gadget, isn't it? So, once he gets down there, he has to shit the thermal device into the weather machine, which he does, and it works, and destroys the fucking weather machine. But then it turns out that the brainwashed cybernetic ex-Peril Partnership spy, remember him? He was piloting the ship, or the machine. So he's outside asking them for help, and they end up taking him and the machine back to the guild. And he admits that he only took the mission to get the attention of the woman he loves in the OSI. More on that, too. We got a lot of love threads going this season. I'm loving it. Very soap opera-ish. They're fully embracing that. I'm very happy about that. Meanwhile, Monarch and 21 are getting off the ship to swim to the Creep's island to pose as defectors, and once they gain the Creep's trust, to take him out and solve the problem with the Peril Partnership at long last. They reach the island and are greeted by a shrouded figure who is definitely on the Monarch's old butter glider, and definitely sounds like Jesse the Body Ventura. He tells them that they must survive the most dangerous game in order to defect. There is this really cool translucent dome that he makes them walk towards, which keeps his part of the island safe from the violent storm. And his section of the island is filled with myriad other objects that the Creep has apparently stolen from other members of the guild. We then finally get a good look at the Creep, and he's also covered in pieces of others' costumes from the guild. The only piece I could recognize for certain is that he has Galacticon's leg, or boot, or whatever. Anyway, he instructs them then on the most dangerous game, which turns out just to be lawn darts because they're banned all over the world. So they play Firebomb with it, where, like, you know, the game where you throw the lawn. I don't know if you're old enough to remember actually having lawn darts, but they are very dangerous. But you just throw them up in the air and fucking run like hell. I've played it before. It's very stupid. Well, while playing the game, he explains his gripe with the guilds, and it's simply their bureaucracy and miles of red tape, which we've seen plenty of in these last 2 seasons alone, let alone the whole show. Because there seems to be a lot more now that the Sovereign's not in command anymore. He wants to destroy it so that villainy can finally be what it was meant to be, once more. And his end game, apparently, is to destroy the OSI, who threw him out for murdering Boy Scouts. He thought he was securing the area for a mission. They shouldn't have been there. So, I mean, he truly believes that anyone could have made that mistake. So, the most dangerous game goes well into the night until Rusty and Billy, in these fucking, like, I think Rusty's in a tuxedo and Billy's dressed like Ulysses S. Grant, appear out of Grover Cleveland's presidential time machine, which he also has on the island, obviously. And very strangely, Rusty calls Monarch by his name Malcolm and asks why he's 1 trillion years in the past. I don't think they're going to say anything about this by the end of this season, but I think maybe that might have something to do with the series finale. Who knows? Maybe just a little hint that we are going to get a season 8. Anyway, these are not the same Billy and Rusty, obviously, who just stopped the weather machine, but before we can ponder any more, like I just said, too much more into this, the Creep is killed because he's so fucking distracted by them, and Billy and Rusty disappear. The other Billy and Rusty. So, the Monarch and 21 win. And that's the end of the Peril Partnership. Or is it? I guess we'll have to wait till the finale to see if that's really put to an end. And in the end of the episode, we get the bear, again, carrying Hank through. Now they're at the dormitory at Dean and Serena's school. And he puts him down and points to Dean's room, telling him to look inside, obviously, through just the point, because he doesn't speak. When he goes inside, he sees the both of them naked together on the bed. And poor Hank, he's too nice and pure to even assume the worst of them, and Dean has to basically spell it out for him before he collapses from both the shock and the blow to his head. I'm thinking maybe this will lead to a reemergence of Enrico Matazza after becoming so jaded from this betrayal. That would be very Hank, in my opinion. But the door is open with him in Wide Whale, so who knows, maybe he will do that to try and get, like, ultimate revenge on Serena. Maybe we'll get Bad Hank, Enrico Matazza. That would be very Hank, again. And in the post-credit scene, in the annals of the guild headquarters, the cybernetic man and his lover are reunited, but his memory has been wiped. And he treats her as a threat, and the episode cuts out with him calling for security. So, I think we're going to get something big out of that in the finale. Obviously, same as always, they really don't explain much in the trailer for what's going to be happening in the next week, other than it seems like the guild is going to be coming for Rusty. Other than that, I guess we're going to have to wait and see another week. One more episode. It's very exciting, but very depressing. Well, I'll see you then, creeps. And next time I see you, there's going to be no more for a while. Alright. Well, maybe you'll join me tomorrow. New podcast is coming out. New story time on Friday. And, little treat for the month of October, which I'll be telling you about soon. Alright, Doc out.